Hello, Facebook. It is the Real Behind the Realtor interview series time. You are not confused. It is Wednesday, not Thursday. So I try to accommodate my guests. So today I am going to be interviewing two lovely gentlemen from KMA Insurance Group. I got to know them because we actually did a coffee sponsorship at Folklore in Elizabethtown last month. So I got to meet Joe and Cody from KMA. So without further ado, let me bring them in. Hello, gentlemen. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
I am great. How are you? And so the audience knows I said the guys look great in their blazers, and I'm in my sort of fancy sweatshirt. But this is the Real Behind the Realtor, so we keep it real here. But thank you. I appreciate the very professional look. It looks nice.
Yeah, we strive for it. Yeah.
I love it. So guys, I'll start with some information about you and KMA, and then we'll wrap up with some fun sort of random questions at the end. So who would like to start? The volunteer.
I'll go first. Yeah, so my name's...
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me a little bit about yourself, how you ended up at KMA and Lancaster County.
Yeah, so I grew up in Lancaster County. I actually graduated from Millersville University. I've been with KMA for about 4.5 years.
Okay.
Pretty much ever since I stepped in this door, the company has grown beyond pretty much any of our wildest dreams. We now work with over 15 carriers, home, auto, life, commercial insurance. So I've really just been blessed to be just a part of that ride, and meeting all the people here in Lancaster County and even beyond has been more rewarding than I could ever really dream of.
I love that. And Cody.
Yeah, so my story starts, I moved out to central Pennsylvania May of 2017. I got a job working with Nationwide Insurance right out of college as a claims adjuster.
Okay.
And then last October, October of 2019, I met Kyle Miller and kind of transitioned from the claims side of the business to the agency side of the business, and I've been here ever since. Along with Joe, our roles are great, especially when it comes to meeting people, and there's not a better place around than Lancaster County for that.
Great. So this is sort of a side point, not a question that I thought to ask you guys, but when you tell people what you do they kind of like glazed eyes, rolled over? They're like, insurance. I mean, it's go ahead.
You can ask my wife. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm sure she disagrees, but I mean, I get a lot of that. Yeah, I'm sure
Okay.
Joe, you'd say.
Yeah, I think I'd say the same thing. But at the end of the day, everyone needs it. So, eventually you're going to have that conversation, whether it's with a friend or a random person. So,
Exactly.
Very true. It's one of those things that you don't really think about it until you actually need it, and then you are very thankful that you have it. So that is a great point. So, Joe, you touched on this a little bit already, but if you could tell me what types of insurance does KMA sell, and then also what are like the most common types that either that you talk about or recommend. I'm thinking like for my audience, like homeowners, what would be the most common insurances that you would recommend for people?
Yeah, so we offer pretty much any line of insurance that you can absolutely think of, whether it's, you bought a boat you're going to use on the weekends, or it's your first time buying a home. We do it all. And with the homeowner's policy, we definitely recommend having replacement cost coverage on that. That means if something were to happen to the home or you have a total loss, we're gonna do what it takes to replace that building rather than take into account depreciation. So that's very big, especially for first-time home buyers, because they don't always know what to look for. And that's
Right.
what I've noticed in the industry. People are like, I'm scared, I'm anxious, I don't know what to do. This is a big step for us. But also one thing that not a lot of people touch on is you want to seriously think about, especially, if you're young, relatively young buying your first home, is taking out a 30-year term life policy at the minimum, just to cover if something were to happen to you or whoever else you're signing the house with, that you can know that, they won't have to worry about paying the mortgage And it's a tough conversation to have. It's something nobody wants to think about, but I feel like it's my duty to always have that conversation and just let people know what options are out there. So I think those two coverages are some of the biggest ones to talk about, especially first home buyers, because they don't always know.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. I think that's great that you guide and advise people and say, hey, this is not necessarily the most comfortable or, pleasant conversations, but you want to make sure that you are prepared because you never know what life is going to throw your way. So I think that's great.
Exactly.
Cody, anything to add to that? And I also wanted you to talk about the roofing situation that we had talked about at Folklore and kind of what you guys see that sometimes can be a scam that I think people should watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, Joe hit the nail on the head, so to say, with that. And just kind of branching off if you're buying a home for the first time, something to definitely consider is another product we offer, an umbrella policy, and that's excess liability. So when you're buying that home, that's now going to be one of your biggest assets. And a way to take care of that is an excess liability policy through an umbrella. And they're typically $1 million in coverage, and it's the best bang for the buck that you can get as far as cost to coverage goes.
Okay.
And then, the roofing, and this, I handled the auto claims at Nationwide, but you would hear about this. A lot of times, something to watch out for is if there'd be a hailstorm or some type of natural disaster that's coming through. A lot of, there's a faction of society out there that's going to want to take advantage of this. So they'll drive around and they'll look and say, hey, this might kind of have hail damage, and they'll go up. They'll try to get the client to file a claim with their homeowner's company saying, hey, you can get a brand new roof. But what the homeowner doesn't know, there's going to be a lot of cases that's going to affect your own policy having a claim filed against you. You run into any of that, Joe, in your time?
Yeah, I would just always, mention that, when you have a claim situation, you always want to look at the bigger picture and know that we absolutely are there. And you 100%, most of the time we have a claim, our clients are blown away with the process. But always, for a claim that's not so much urgent, always have a conversation with your agent to talk about the consequences. Because every policy is different, every situation is different, and at the end of the day, it's going to be your personal decision, or you want to submit a claim. But the agent can at least keep you well informed on what the best way to go about that. And 100%, I know every one of our carriers will provide excellent service, and quite frankly, if they don't, we wouldn't have a contract with them.
Right.
Exactly, and and that's what we're here for as agents, to guide you along the way, advise you on the policy. Hey, should you file a claim? Should you not? It's really, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, that there isn't really a one size fits all policy that, something that I have as a homeowner, or, if it's home and auto insurance, could look completely different than, my best friend's coverage. So I think that's
absolutely, and that's
important.
Oh, no doubt. And that's, where we come into it as agents is, sure, anyone can go online and buy a homeowner policy or an auto policy right now directly from a company. But as a consumer and not an insurance professional, do you really know the coverages that you're selecting on your policy and so forth?
Right.
That's a benefit of, being with an agent, is we're there to guide you along the way.
Exactly. And this is something I just thought of that either one of you can answer. Do you think it's important for people to have insurance from a local company? So for instance, if you're living in Lancaster County, how important is it for you to have an insurance company that's based in Lancaster County versus anywhere in
I think that's something that 2020 taught us, and especially in the insurance industry, I'm sure in many others. This can be done, over the phone, over the computer. It doesn't matter where you are, as long as you have a trusted agent that's advising you on the right coverages. I think you could have an agent in Pittsburgh, so to say, and live in Harrisburg.
Okay. Good to know. Excellent.
Yeah, I just think it's always important to have a company you can trust and someone you can call and you can get a quick answer from them. You're not on hold. You're not pressing buttons. You're not, well, I need to talk to the guy you talked to last time. If you call this agency, you're getting a licensed agent on the phone. It's most likely going to be the same person you talked to last week. If not, it's going to be someone maybe sitting right across the hall from them. And I personally think, that is so important when it comes to managing any type of account, especially insurance, because these are our most important assets and obviously our most important liabilities as well. So, I mean, and I also think, just to kind of piggyback off what Cody said, you know, in 2020, I mean, I really felt like when the pandemic came through, I've never felt a bigger sense of community in here in Lancaster County. I mean, we were calling our clients, so, hey, letting you know our carriers are 100%, you know, on board. We're giving out refunds, you know, so it's so, you know, rewarding to make out those calls. Or it was just a scary time when we had people on the phone saying, I don't know how I'm going to get groceries. And it's like, okay, do you need us to drop off some toilet paper for you just to get you through when there's a shortage? So I really feel like we are a part of the community, and that's at least what we thrive to be.
Yeah, I love that.
No doubt about it. And the great thing now is technology enables us to extend that reach, not only in Lancaster County community, but beyond.
Right. Very true. And I think for people that may not be familiar with KMA, and I'll post this after the interview, that definitely get connected, if it's either through Joe or Cody or just KMA's page, that I think Katie does a great job through social media to see all of the ways that you guys are connecting with other businesses and the community. So I definitely commend, you know, the company for doing that. I think that's great.
Absolutely. And we like to brag about our social media. I feel we're pretty strong there, and we got a great person beyond the wheel.
Great. So this is kind of a twofold, and if one of you wants to tackle one, and then the other can do the other. So in terms of your experience, are there a few like frequently asked questions that you get, and then also misconceptions about insurance? Joe,
you want to
jump in?
Yeah. So FAQs, frequently asked questions. A lot of times people will say, well, I want liability. How much does that cost? Or, you know, or is life insurance expensive? And I think the real way to answer that is take 15 minutes and have a conversation with an agent, whether it's here or somewhere else, because every policy is tailored differently. You know, so you want a liability policy. Do you want roadside assistance for $21 for 6 months or $3 a month? Do you want accident forgiveness? I mean, we can go as cheap as you'd like, you know, or as coverage effective. And I think we get a lot. I think people are sometimes hesitant to just ask a quick question because they think they're going to get sold, you know, a big policy they don't need. And I blame the commercials for that. Mm-hmm. That's not our goal here. If we can leave and you know, help somebody, we don't care if the policy is $100 or $100,000. You know, at the end of the day, what I found in my industry is you help the people first, and you know, everything else will follow through. But if that's your main goal, so I would just say, if you have a question, feel free to reach out. You're going to get an answer. You're going to get a professional, you know, an honest answer, and you know, you'll have that conversation be as quick or as short as you'd like.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, spot on. And then just kind of branching off that, some misconceptions. You know, going into price here again, I think when someone thinks of insurance, one thing they're thinking about is the price for sure. And they think that us as agents have some sway over the price. Like, oh, we can give you this rate, we can give you this rate. That's never set. I wish it was that way, but unfortunately it's set by the carriers and the State Department of Insurance. You know, us as a brokerage, we try to find the best value out there with coverage, you know, with their multiple carriers. But I think that's definitely a misconception. And again, branching off Joe, someone calls in, they say, hey, I want full coverage. Full coverage doesn't exist in insurance agent language. Because like he's saying, hey, we can get you full coverage, but do you want, that's collision, that's comprehensive. Do you want roadside assistance? Do you want rental car coverage? It's really hard to, you know, determine what full coverage might be to someone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to add to that. I think a big major misconception, and Cody really touched on this, is that a certain carrier might be pricier than the other. So many different things go into a quote, and, you know, one carrier isn't, you know, a good fit for everybody, right? So like, you know, you get State Farm and they're, you know, we can quote you State Farm. We're going to tailor your quote to whatever carrier is going to fit you best. And we've got such a variety of them. We can pretty much accommodate for any and everybody. I mean, I can't can't remember the last time I've quoted someone who wasn't really at least able to help them out in some aspect. So I think that's a misconception.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think that's great that, you guys are the experts. So you can say, okay, this carrier has this carrier has this, which is going to be the best fit for my client. So I think that's great to know for, the general public, because it's not something that I necessarily knew. I think like you guys said, we see either social media or just, advertising and marketing in general. And you think, okay, it's kind of a one size fits all, or it's this company, this is what they sell, this is what they do. And it's just that, and it's not really that black and white.
Absolutely. Spot on.
Great. Awesome. Well, that is really what I have in terms of the business questions. So I appreciate you guys, sharing that information. And then, like I said, I always like to throw in kind of some fun questions at the end so we can get to learn a little bit more about you guys. So my first question, Joe, I'll start with you. Your favorite word, or it could be favorite phrase or quote.
Well, I think my favorite phrase is there's 1,000 ways to get to town. And, what that really means to me is there's always a way. And that, obviously that applies in insurance, but I think it applies in pretty much every aspect of life.
No, I love that. I think, especially for me, because I don't always think outside of the box in certain things, that, I think that's a great reminder that there's not always, one way to do something. I love that. Cody?
I've thought long and hard about this, and the first thing that comes to mind is dinner served.
Love it. That's a good one. That's important.
That's absolutely.
You need nourishment to survive, so I love that. All right, Cody, I'll start with you for this one. Something that makes you smile.
Oh man, it'd have to be my wife Taylor and my dog Nala when I come home from work every day. That's the best part of it. Seeing their faces.
Yeah. Joe?
I'd say the first few nice days of spring, like we've been having, is kind of, it's a unique, it's a unique time of the year, and it's kind of just, makes you happy.
I agree. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We might get into the 70s. Fingers crossed. Love it. All right, Joe, I'll start with you for this one. A sound or noise that you love.
Sound or noise. I love when you just crack open a can of Coke and you get that first pop. I don't know what it is, but it's just so satisfying. So.
I did not think you were going to say can of Coke, but I love that. And Cody, what about you?
Sound or noise that I love. Really like the sound of a suitcase going through the airport, that click, click, click. That's a good one.
Okay. I love that. I know. I feel like so many people are, dreaming about travel, and I see that all the time. Like, where's the first place you're going to go when we can, safely do it? So I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, back to you for this one. Something that you enjoy about your job.
What it really boils down to is the ability to help people. I enjoy talking to people, and by doing that, I can help them with all their insurance aspects and protect what matters most to them.
Yeah. And Joe?
I'd say just being, a piece to a bigger picture here. We all obviously fill roles, but we work as a team. So I think the best part of my job is the team I work with.
Okay. I love that. Being a part of a team,
Yeah.
I certainly understand that. Love that. And Joe, I'm going to start with you for this one. So if you had the opportunity to try another profession, what would you choose?
I would like to get into anything with sports. I don't care if it would be being a professional player or just being a security guard at a professional field. I just really like sports, and I think that'd be a cool field to get into.
Okay, nice. Cody?
This could still happen, so there's a chance, but I'd love to be into politics, congressional level, presidential level. Who knows?
All right. Better you than me, but hey, vote for Cody coming soon. You never know. All right, guys, and last question. thinking and just reflecting on 2020, what is your biggest takeaway, or what is kind of the lesson that you take away from that year? Jill, I'll start with you.
I think the biggest lesson I learned from 2020 is, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and no matter how bad things seem in that circumstance, you always have to be looking at the bigger picture and seeing, a year from now, I wouldn't think we would even be where we are today. Not that we're as far as we'd like to be, but
Right.
I mean, things got a little dark there for a little bit. And, kind of always remember, no matter how dark things seem, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll get there. Just keep pushing through.
I love that. Very optimistic. Cody?
Yeah, 2020, a lot happened this year, and one thing that I think we can all agree on is things change very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And something I've taken away from that is don't fret over the small things. We got to keep moving and one direction forward.
Very true. Excellent sentiments from both of you. Well, thank you both for joining me again. It was a pleasure interviewing you. And thank you for everyone that tuned in. I will make sure to put Joe and Cody's contact information in a separate post after we are wrapped up with our interview, so that you can reach out to them for any insurance needs that KMA can help you with. So Thank you again for tuning in. And I will see you guys tomorrow. If you're tuning in for The Real Behind the Realtor, I'll be live on Instagram tomorrow. So thank you again, Joe and Cody. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.